Well, hello, that's me again, and I'm probably going to be making things more often, my videos, for you to guys to stay abreast on a larger issue which is happening right now in Ukraine. And I want to start today with a very simple topic. It's the topic of the propaganda. And just to give you example, Jen Psaki, the spokesperson of the White House, she just nonchalantly stated that, yeah, United States provides targeting for the Ukrainian forces. Well, yeah, obvious. The war of Russia is not just in the Ukraine, it is against NATO, and people have to understand this and keep this in mind. And this is the larger framework. This is what is this all about. It is in the end about the split of Russia and the West. So that is an important factor which needs to be considered and factored in, if you wish, when you try to make sense of this whole situation. Now, people already asked me in the comments to other video, and I'm sure they will continue to ask me further down the road about this. And they periodically refer to some CSIS, Center for Strategic International Studies, or any other, American or Western think tank writing about, oh, Putin miscalculated, Russia miscalculated this and that, and of course they do promote the just absolutely risible Ukrainian propaganda. And I can tell you immediately one very important thing which has to be kept in mind. Their task of those think tanks, which are staffed primarily with humanities educated, that means uneducated people from the US and UK leading universities, and retired American generals, which are known for losing all their wars they ever fought, the only task for them is to remove any understanding or grasp of the context. And let me give you example. I already wrote in my books on the on number of occasions, and I constantly represent trying to present this so to speak mental task in these terms. I will go back to General Patton. Many people still in the United States consider him for great tactician for some unknown reason, and yet he is primarily media figure. But when people talk about his tactical genius, I don't know where they found the genius there, but point is that, oh, look at his Lorraine campaign in 1944. What, as I already stated, what many people do not understand about his Lorraine campaign before he ran into Metz, which he couldn't take, is the fact that he was facing such forces of Wehrmacht as, for example, and these are quote unquote from the work of the people from the General Staff College from Leavenworth, Kansas, who had the PhDs in military history. That's where I'm taking this data, is, for example, that he was fighting the whole regiments consisted of the deaf people, or whole regiments consisted of the people with the stomach ulcers, not to mention the units consisting of the cooks. And out of 3 Panzer divisions he was facing, those 3 Panzer divisions, between 3 of them, they had on the average, well, plus minus depending on the data, 30 operational tanks. So that's pretty much reasonable, and I'm sure any associate degree person with the IQ higher than room temperature probably would be able to conduct operations in this type of the environment. That is what happens. So yeah, he went in one day for whatever number of kilometers. Oh my God. Well, yeah, you just drive on the road and you face the resistance by stomach ulcer and deaf cooks. So that's what you're gonna get. But of course, for so-called historians and military historians who need to create the appropriate propaganda cliche and idol, that's what happens. They remove the context completely, and they remove what the most important thing in the history, any kind of history, and we are talking about the causality, cause and effect. And there you go. Suddenly everything looks, wow, what an accomplishment. In reality, well, there is none. The same happens here, because basically most of the propaganda outlets, or some morons like Sean Hannity, who offered, just the bomb Russian columns, is created by people who have no clue what real war is, and what they do is they remove the context. So to give you the approximate context of the Russian operation in Ukraine right now, here it is. Just for you to understand what is involved. The military operations, combat operations, including some fierce fighting, which are happening right now on Ukrainian territory, they have the expanse, geographic expanse, so to speak, which amounts to roughly territory of the United Kingdom. So we're looking at something on the order of 205-10 plus 1,000 square kilometers. It is an immense operation in terms of its scope and expanse, and as you might understand, yeah, there is war. It's serious, and there will be people who will be killed, and many are killed, sadly, and there is a brutality which is, as always, precipitated by the West, by encouraging and supplying all those Nazi units. Second, what many people don't understand is that at this stage, armed forces of Ukraine are completely destroyed or disrupted as the organized force. The organized force being what you fight as when you have the full C4 ISR complex, which is command, control, communications, computer, and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Some of it is obviously provided by the United States through their space and other recon assets, which was expected, and it's absolutely normal. Nobody really makes much fuss about it. I mean, yeah, what do you expect? But what people do not understand, that in the first basically 7 to, including today, the 8th day of this operation, what has been achieved was the fact that VSU, the armed forces of Ukraine, and especially its nationalistic battalions, Nazis, has been denied any kind of the ability to maneuver. And it was inevitably because they know they get in the open, away from any kind of the civilian houses or any kind of facilities, they're dead. And that's been already proven on a number of occasions. And inevitably, losing their operational maneuver capability, they move into their settlements, they move into the towns, they move into the cities. And this is what is happening right now. And today's negotiations between Ukraine and Russia, what many people don't understand, was primarily, and it was from the inception, a negotiating of the humanitarian corridors. And it is well-known fact, established, and you shouldn't be surprised for the people who advise Ukrainians and VSU, and especially the SS-type Nazi battalions, is obviously they're using the civilian population as the human shield. So Russia tries to extricate right now as many civilian people from their cities and towns as possible by creating the humanitarian corridors. After that, the mopping up starts. It will be bloody. And again, do not forget, again, people lack context completely. Look at the number of the cities Russia already invested or basically surrounded and is waiting for them to remove as many civilians as possible. You look at Kherson, you look at Berdyansk, you look at Kharkov. These are large cities, people. These are not your village of 30,000 people. And, there are other villages and settlements which are 30,000 people. And if you look at attentively at the eastern Ukraine, it is basically one huge city or town, if you wish. It is all those gigantic villages and towns and cities which kind of flow into each other, and it is extremely difficult to obviously dislodge, although it is being done as I speak, dislodge there already those people from VSU who have been digging in for the last 8 years. However, if you look attentively right now, and I'm not going to be posting here the maps, but you can easily find them the cauldron is complete pretty much, and we're looking at between 12 to 16 brigades which have been surrounded, and the reduction of this cauldron will start, if not already. Actually, I think so, it's already started, but when it will start in earnest, you will see a dramatic growth in the KIAs and other losses on the Ukrainian side. So it's the bulk of the Ukrainian forces. It's been locked in, and right now what Russia is doing, she's expanding the land bridge, and evidently there are already some attacks around Odessa and Nikolaev. And that will bring us, obviously, when you look at it, that, yeah, it's pretty successful. Do people die? Sadly, yes. It's war. Just face it. It's not the stupid TV picture from a Turkey shot in Iraq, where you have the flat desert where there's nowhere to hide, and you have the standoff weapons being shot at basically on defenseless targets, especially those targets being operated by the incompetent Arab military, such as Iraqi army. So, and that's the difference. But so in this case, if you ask me what is the scope, it is much larger than you ever experienced in modern times. So you can expect, if we want to talk about this right now, what is the forecast, how you will give us what's going to happen. Well, nothing going to happen that is not planned, and except for the dramatic increase, exponential really, of the bullshit and propaganda crap which is being spewed by the US and Western mainstream media and all kinds of think tanks who are, as I already stated, primarily staffed with the incompetent people who would know the difference between the LGBTQ and battalion tactical group, which is, by the way, it's really a parasite term. Russians don't have battalion tactical groups, they have just battalions, but hey, you need to kind of convey it into the, Western military lingo, so it is what it is. So, as for, so to speak, international relation thing, you ain't seen nothing yet, as I was trying to say to many people, and here's one of the really small things which are coming in focus today, with Dmitry Rogozin saying, well, bye-bye, United States is not getting Russian rocket engines. Moreover, the talk is now in Russia about, hey, you don't want our hydrocarbons? Sure. You're not going to get it, and Russia will be able to shut down whatever the energy supplies to the West, especially to the Europe. Because obviously it's a political, fundamentally political decision, but there are so many things Russia can do now economically that's what many people still don't get. For starters, and there is a talk, and there are other proposals on the level of State Duma, for example, guys. This is legislature, and guess what? It will be signed by Putin immediately if it goes through. It's the nationalization of the Western assets. And that will be the bomb which West cannot take. And there is a lot of apprehension on the Western side about this. But it is what it is, and many people still do not recognize and don't understand the significance of all that, and many think, oh gosh, the crisis is much worse than we expected, or we didn't expect this and that. Well, I can disclose you a very simple secret. Any normal military, political, coherent and cohesive organization, such as Russian government and its military, when they plan all those contingencies, and the process of the planning, especially the calculation of the consequences, is so thorough that it will take me a very long time to explain how it is done and how those nexuses are developed in terms of the development or ramifications. But at this stage I can tell you one thing: there is no anything which haven't been unexpected by Russia in terms of this operation and the consequences. And that's what many people do not know, because they are denied any kind of the context by US media or by US think tanks or all those politicals speaking constantly and spewing so much bullshit about it that, yeah, for anybody who listens to, CNN or MSNBC, especially seeing those US generals who don't know, how to fight real modern war, you have this impression that, oh yeah, they know what they're talking about. They don't. Those who do know what they're talking about, they have a very limited access to the media and are reduced to, well, I'll give you one example. Even Colonel Douglas McGregor, he has a somewhat limited access to Fox News through Tucker Carlson, but that's about it. This is as high as you may go in terms of providing special and competent and professional information on the matters, be that military or economic. But it's still out there. I mean, United States, unlike Europe, United States has the Bill of Rights and you have the freedom of speech. So they may deplatform you as the private company, but they cannot shut you down. I mean, they can create troubles for you. So seek out the information, seek out the alternative representation of the facts. And again, remember, just get it into your minds. This is war, and this is serious war. And if anybody thinks that this war will be without dirt, blood, suffering, death, I'm sorry guys, I have a bridge to sell you. So this has to go into your considerations without even being said. This is the part of the framework, the part of the paradigm which you have to look at. We have to operate within to understand what is happening around internationally. And the question is that in the end, it is about subjugation of the West in terms of its, how to put it, not isolation, but cutting it off from the real control of the world. And just that is done only by the force. And again, as I said, what can I say? Just go and buy my first book, Losing Military Supremacy, and read basically a whole trilogy. I describe in really tiny, minute detail pretty much how it is done, as I constantly try to stress it. Geopolitics is driven by two factors only, not even by geography. Geography is merely a background, but it is driven by the real advanced physical economy and armed forces it produces, and armed forces which can operate properly and achieve results. And in this particular case, Russia has it. West doesn't. And the question is not that West can produce so many iPhones, which it doesn't. Actually, it's China which produces it. Or that Germany may develop some tank. Well, yeah, it may develop some tank. It will not be able to build the combat aircraft anytime soon. But watch attentively how the world splits apart right now and how we actually achieving a full-blown multipolarity. And believe me, the West in this particular case is a weaker side. And I want to close it today with this simple statement. I posted a few days ago the news, it's reported by Russian Ministry of Defense and TASS, about the actual capability of the 3M-22 Zircon hypersonic missile, which already is procured. It is being serial produced and is becoming the part of the Russian Navy. And it is, as was predicted, and I was talking about this revelation mode for so many years now, that actual combat range of this surface launch Zircon is astounding 1,500 kilometers. It's almost 850, 900 nautical miles. Well, 850 more like that, nautical miles, or 900 regular statutory miles. And this is beyond the range of any kind of the intelligence and range of the aircraft carrier group's planes, let alone the range of the patrol, which is usually 200, 300 nautical miles from the carrier group itself. And we are looking at a complete shutting down of the world ocean if the game gets really serious. There are some still really good professionals left in the United States military, despite obviously bad rap and extremely silly publicity it got itself. And there are many people who understand the implications and ramifications of that. And as the result, this single factor of the cutting edge weaponry, will continue to define the balance of power in the world for a while now. And when you again look at the events in Ukraine and what is going on, do not forget, it is not just about Ukraine, albeit it is. Ukraine is just but one place among many where West and Russia clashed. Syria could be next, and you will see yourself in coming days how this will be more and more properly reported, because, as I said, and not only me, many other people say, I mean, how can you lose anything when you surrounded the capital of the country? So, but yeah, it's the logic of the basically the mass media and, so to speak, quote-unquote military experts who believe that Trump was Russian stooge and that Russians influenced U.S. Elections. This is just basically the net framework you have to constantly keep in mind and see the larger battle going on here, in which Ukraine is but one, however, right now very bloody and hot place. And for all intents and purposes, the operation develops pretty well. So, and next Nikolaev and Odessa, and then pretty much Russia will have the old bridge, land bridge closed up to the Transnistria Republic, and then after that Ukraine will be isolated pretty much, whatever will be left of it, and then, well, we'll see how politically it will go there. So this is my talk for today, and it's off the cuff again, because, and expect more and more of this type of the talks, because you have to react. The situation is very fluid, it's very dynamic, and I'll talk to you later, guys. So as always, do not forget to subscribe and obviously support me on the Patreon. So, have a safe and productive day, and don't get stressed too much over it. Albeit, yeah, just keep your hand on the pulse of the events and just be vigilant against the bullshit. So I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.